His Holiness, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, before I start, I would like to express our appreciation to His Holiness, especially on behalf of the delegation of quantum scientists came from Taiwan and the United States. This morning, my discussion will be on the challenges and opportunities for a sustainable planet. The picture you're seeing is not Dharamsala. It looks quite similar.
Oh, okay.
That was the place I left 23 years ago. This is my home in California. I left 23 years ago in...
not Taiwan.
No. Well, but now I want to show you where Taiwan is located. Taiwan is located in one of these earths. Well, yesterday we did discuss the quantization, and if we have any object like sun or earth, the sun is burning bright, maybe 5,000 degrees centigrade, and when a body is so hot, it will radiate photons, and the distribution of photons will follow.
degree 동다 같이 되고라 지금 그 차고 있는 대쪽의 그런게 radiate 그래서.
So when temperature is high, like sun, at around 5,000 degrees centigrade, the most brightest part is the visible light that we can see. But if you look at the Earth, average temperature is around 20 degrees. It's only emit infrared photons. Wavelength is long. We cannot see with a naked eye. We can see it with an instrument, but no, it's naked eye. Yesterday we did say, in order to explain the distribution of energy of photons in a
photon energy.
Yes.
Max Planck has to come up with the idea that the energy coming out and going in has to be quantized, and that was the started to understand the quantum mechanics, so-called quantization of photons in the energy exchange. Well, this Earth system, solar system, was established something like 4.5 billion years ago, and sun was keep on burning. And on the surface of the Earth, many things happen, and I want to go very quickly. I cannot go year by year, then it will take 4.5 billion years. So I'll go through very quickly. Well, that was about 30 years ago. A satellite looked at the picture of the Earth. That's what it looked like. Before the Second World War, a philosopher did say, if one day humanity can go far away and take the picture of the entire Earth, then Earth should change. People know that there's only one Earth. We have to live together, and national boundary might be just a line on the map. Nature would not recognize those natural boundaries, and entire globe will be united. And that was the thinking of philosophers. But that haven't happened yet. But over the years, there's Earth system changed. And about 2 million years ago, humanity appeared and evolved. And it was around 10,000 years ago, agriculture started in many parts of the world. Around that time, almost the entire part of the Earth are populated by humanity, except New Zealand. The settlement was not started until 1,200 years ago. But when agriculture started,
네집 폐지 용어이다.
So, but there are native, people in New Zealand.
근데 오스트레일리아 네집 직도 봐.
no,
So, for
the-
example,
the-
there
폐지
are
뉴질랜드 이 폐지요래.
those native people in Australia went there
Yeah.
almost 50,000 years ago, exit from Africa. But New Zealand is around 1,200 years ago, hopping through island and went down there. But around 10,000 years ago,
Do you have some idea? Some Native American, they
Yes.
say originally they come from Central Asia and through Alaska.
Yeah.
Then they reach
yes,
North America.
that's right. There's
Do you have something to say?
Is that,
Well-
is that true?
many people learning human migration. They have some evidence that might have three routes going through. And for example, people who live in this part of the world, migration is coming from the south of Himalaya. But another branch is from the north of Himalaya, the mix in the eastern part of Asia. So 10,000 years ago, one thing happened on the surface of Earth, that is the agriculture. And that was the first time human activity impacted the global environment, but the impact was not that big. And at that time, men are still hunter, food gatherer. Their income are not dependent. The income of women are more dependent, so the position of the society, women, is higher. They are the boss. Men are really not very dependable at the time. And
And
that was,
some people say the human being first in Africa,
yes,
then you see one branch to east,
right.
one north, and then European.
Yes.
East, I think India, China, like that. So
Yeah.
how many years? Do you know something?
The migration.
Migration actually started,
아프리카 토마시들 놓고 맞춰도.
So the human evolution of humans on African continent.
Yeah.
Do we have any estimate when it?
that's right, that was about 50 to 100,000 years ago, people went out. Actually, earlier, the former electors was the ones who migrated out.
share the
Neanderthal is the second wave move out.
according archaeological finding.
칭의 공식도.
가.
칭의 공식도 발리안에 그 migration 제고 주브레스. 근데 미릭니 제다 네안데탈스니 주바. 네안데탈스니 다 등상고도 규버 조사로와. And then the modern human langar nicha. That the migration did lotingas 공야 지게 거래서.
아프리카는 사실 그네래 토마 용서디.
So do we know what part of Africa where actually the human population
Do you know
started
something?
to migrate?
Southern part of Africa. Southern part of
Southern
Africa.
part.
그래서 추도 돼요다. 내일 저요는
So was it connected with the river Nile's flow in that kind of area?
No, a little more further south.
다도마, 샴마, 보조마. 지게 거래서.
And then the third wave of migration came out. Those are our ancestors called Homo sapiens. And no matter you are black, Caucasian, or Asian, all of us are so-called Homo sapiens. Those people migrated out around 50,000 years ago from Africa. Well, the Industrial Revolution, the starting of the farming allow people to build the bigger structures, so they don't have to move anymore. So from that time, you do see some big structures and women who are higher in the society working hard in the field. But the next big change is really the Industrial Revolution. That revolution really changed the humanity and also changed the living environment. The reason was, in the agricultural society, all people eat and energy use are still directly came from sunshine. But after the Industrial Revolution, we invented the machine, locomotives, internal combustion engine, and then started to dig all the fossil fuel underground and transform many things. For example, if you look at this picture, you see on the left-hand side, we have some Aboriginal tribe living in the plain of Taiwan. That is supposed to be the wedding ceremony. Bride and bridegroom was carried by people. But in that picture, the house, clothing, what they are eating, all came directly from the sun. But after the Industrial Revolution, people started to dig underground and use the coal to transform material into steel, aluminum, make cement, and gradually we dissociate from the nature. And
because Africa 미찬 로칭아
말에 migration 고조제. now
저자한테 개미 아주 별 나라를 즉 서십층에서 저기 가 숨중가도 지도가 별이야 미찬.
So, based on archaeological study that was done by a group of scientists from Shanghai in Tibet, they found evidence for human habitation dating back to 35,000 years.
Yeah, that's about right. And I think massive migration started 50,000 in around Tibet, northern route. Our 35,000 is already spread out.
저자가 아프리카 연맹 당구셔주잖아요. 뭐지?
말해 당고 migration 제배가 또 미차도 계지 말해. 또 그래서 변에 퇴하고 저거라.
알레.
The migration, but so migration is dated around 50,000 from African continent.
Right.
But how about the actual emergence of modern human being on
About
Africa?
2 million years ago.
2 million years ago.
Yeah. So-called.
아니 아프리카는 영에서 ኛ를 별래도 ኛ를 전할래도.
So, do we know when the migrations came from Africa, did they come to reach Tibet first or China?
I think the
now from
one is 가서다 Mongol
right
and Tibet naturally
right
firstly reach this area. Then I think Tibet itself, you see, there is indication
yes
the ancient Tibetan sort of civilization, western part.
Began in the western part of Tibet.
yeah
So the Tibetan civilization actually first began more in the western part of Tibet.
that's right
And then sort of moved further down in the central and then the eastern and northeastern.
that's right. For example, my ancestor from DNA typing, we knew that we came from the western part of China, and before many thousand years ago, it's further west. And then the migration route, a branch go from northern part of Himalaya, like come to Tibet. There's a branch came from southern part of Himalaya. And those people have to Papua New Guinea, and then mixed again.
Himalaya, Indus Valley.
네.
되네 양직 다 되어서 또.
메리랑 용한데 civilization 도 Indus Valley로. 단어 구조 코단 메리 용한데.
그래.
So in Indian, for example, one of the ancient Indian civilization is the Indus Valley civilization. So there might have been another migration route coming that way.
That's right. India, some of them came from the northern route and come south. And some of them come from the southern route. I'm a quantum chemist, but
Quran ke mashi chele chese jorba. Quran ke chele ba nangsa jorba. The quantum chemist is. Shida shifsa ko share.
but what I told you is about right. But after the Industrial Revolution, you see what happened. It's really amazing to see that it's the rise of fossil fuel. 1850, we all burn wood. And then after the steam engine invented, when time goes on, people start to burn more coal. There's the black color, and brown color is the oil, natural gas, and we start to use some hydropower and nuclear. But most of the energy we are consuming today are the fossil fuel. The amazing thing is, in such a short time, only about 270 years, energy consumption went up. And energy, initially we depend on the sun. But now it depends on the energy accumulated by sunshine over billions of years underground. And this is really horrible things. And when I say horrible, you can see there are a couple of things happening. One is because of the improvement of the material good and living condition, development of medicine, population went up very quickly. So when 20th century started, on the surface of the earth, there were 1.5 billion people. The end of the century is already up to 6 billion. Now it's reaching 7.3 billion, and we do expect population will keep on going up to about 9.7 billion at the middle of the century, 9.7 billion. So you can see on the surface of the earth, initially it looks like an infinity, such a large earth. But with the population explosion and with the consumption increase, we're changing the environment, changing greatly. So this is another view of the sun and earth. Because humanity is living in a very thin layer on the surface of the earth, no more than 50 kilometers. So yesterday talking about water and air, ozone and all those. Because of the population explosion and increase of the consumption, just during the last century, per capita consumption increased by a factor of 2. Population went up by a factor of 4. So Earth was carrying 8 times more load than from the beginning to the end of this century. And that started to do some very, very bad things. One thing everybody is aware of is the pollution. On the top left-hand side of the picture is Taiwan, the city of Taipei. And on the bottom right is in Malaysia, Kuala Lumpur. There's the 2 twin towers there. But no matter where you go to the cities, because of the traffic or industry or burning some very primitive fuel, air is polluted. And every year, millions of people die from air pollution. So this is one thing we are doing. But of course, air pollution is quite serious in the urban area, but if you come to like Dharamsala, it's not as bad. It's diluted out, and locally are not producing too much pollution itself. When wind blow away most of it. But one of the more serious things is the balance of energy. As we keep on burning, we produce carbon dioxide, and we call it the greenhouse gases. Why? Because as I said, Earth is cool, 20 degrees centigrade. They emit the photon with a long wavelength. We call infrared photon. Energy is lower. But those photons will be absorbed by carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases like methane and nitrogen oxide. Those will absorb the photons. the photon coming in, sun irradiating the earth, because sun is hot, they come with a visible photon, like we look outside, so beautiful. That is because sun gives us the visible photon that we can see. Visible photon will not be absorbed by the greenhouse gases. So what's happening at the present time is as the greenhouse gases increases, more energy coming in. Actually, I should not say more energy coming in. Energy coming in is for millions of years, might be quite similar. But the energy going out was trapped by greenhouse gases. So if we sit there and think about the energy balance, the more energy coming in, then more energy going out. So like human beings, you eat more than we can consume, then we're going to gain weight. And temperature of the earth is rising. It's rising. And if you ask me how much energy we are receiving and how much energy we are sending out to the universe, and what is the gap between this energy, the difference between the energy coming in and going out is equivalent to 350,000 nuclear bomb of the size of which drop in Okinawa, in Hiroshima, Nagasaki, is every day. So every day we sit here, 350,000 nuclear bomb is bombing the Earth, except Earth is still big. So those energies distributed, except the surface of the Earth gaining more energy and become warmer and warmer. And when the Earth become warmer, water vapor evaporates. There's more water in the atmosphere, and as we all know, typhoon, all those energy is really came from the water vapor in the air. As the water vapor getting more, typhoon become bigger and bigger, and sometime in the continental area, as the temperature goes up, water evaporated, you have a drought. So the consequences of global warming is the extreme weather event. So this year, it's 2018, we broke all the record. Temperature is highest over the years, and lots of damage taking place all over the world. And we are in a very dangerous situation, and that was what I'm concerning about. Because if we keep on going the way it has been, it will not take too many years. We'll be in a very, very situation, and it's very difficult to live on this earth. So, I said temperature is going up. So look at the trend. The way things are going, the amount of carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases we are dumping, the temperature, if we do not do anything, temperature will rise to around 4 or 5 degrees above pre-industrial revolution period. That was by the end of the century. That will not be possible for humanity to survive under that condition. So people said we have to bend the curve and try to limit the temperature rise to 2 degrees centigrade. That was why 2 degrees centigrade came about. More than 15 years ago, people said 2 degrees centigrade, 2 degrees centigrade, because if temperature were to go up more than 2 degrees centigrade, disaster could happen. Actually, the current situation is not ideal either. And, well, scientists has been saying that. And do you believe in scientists? Of course, how much energy going in, how much energy going out, those are, scientists can do all the calculations, but estimate of what will happen when temperature rises still needs some investigation. This figure It's called burning number. It's constructed by Johann Löckström, a very good friend of mine. It shows that don't look at the detail yet. We just look at the three bands. One is 2001 and 2007 and 2013. In the 2001 report, they said, when temperature goes up, extreme weather event and sudden change all could take place. But if you look at the fifth column, risk of large impact, this is still at the white color, even temperature go up to 3 degrees. But
So what's the indication of the arrow pointing downwards? What's the significance of that?
It comes downward means that after scientists study more and more and more and more, then the possibility of the Earth go to a sudden change. It's really not at 4 degree, 2.4 degree, 2.5 degree, that could happen already. So this 3 band shows the scientific investigation shows the situation is really much worse than what we are thinking. So let me go into a more detail and look at the most recent investigation. Actually, during the last couple of weeks, IPCC already put up another report to show that the situation is really serious. So let us look at this picture. The color, white color, it means everything's okay. Then when you turn orange, things become bad and become red and purple. Things become very horrible. So if you look at the unique threatened system, so in some of the mountain and areas, steep and waterfall were called landslide, and those unique threatened system, it's already in the yellow color. It's already pretty bad. And if you look at the far right, it's called large-scale singular event. It means some big event happened, and Earth will go into another state, irreversible, and mankind might disappear. Well, if you look at the curve, shows that the 0 degree, it means about 7 years ago, it is still at 5 colors, so looks okay. That was the reason why people said 2 degree, and then gradually shift to 1.5 degree, 1.5 degrees. But now, if you look at these two curves, from left-hand side is the current temperature set as 0. From the right-hand side, the scale is pre-industrial period was set at 0. And now, if you look at the goal, we set 2 degrees. 2 degrees, every column is already become the dark orange or into the red. It's not acceptable. Large-scale singular events is already very probable. So 2 degrees is really not good. So now people say, maybe 1.5 degree, but if we do not do anything, temperature will reach 4.5 degrees. Now, we are at 1.15 degrees. Before Industrial Revolution, and now, temperature already has risen by 1.15 degrees. And if we set it at 1.5 degrees, there's not much time left anymore. If you keep on doing the same thing without changing drastically within 10 years, we'll reach there. So we always said we don't have much time left. Sun will be burning for billions of years. Humanity might be starting to suffer. And if there's a big, large-scale singular event takes place, humanity just might go. And this is really very dangerous. I have a granddaughter. I have only one granddaughter who's 12 years old, maybe 11 or 12. My wife always said, you should know the age of your child, but they keep on changing every year. So she's about 11 or 12. She always tells her friend and said, I don't worry about global warming. Why? Because my grandfather works very hard on this. And
다른 그런 거 부고 열어봐. 로축지 중이 진짜. 근데 메조다는 environmental shape 갈던 남시 차제려야 차로 줘야려. 근데 심지어 마시스께서는 보보 디토 내가 휴식제가 지거스. 디송교 그제도.
So you tell her friend and my grandfather is very capable, so I don't worry about global warming. I said that's not true. I have to ask everybody to work together, especially Your Holiness. You can help. So, as I said, we don't have much time left, and people didn't really understand. We are being bombarded by lots of energy, equivalent to 350,000 nuclear bombs every day. So this year we really broke the record. And extreme weather events is something we did not experience. This was 10 years ago in Taiwan. It's called Typhoon Morakot. This Taiwan is already removed from the future name of typhoon.
Same place?
Same place. That was August 8 of August 7 or August 8 or 2008.
After Typhoon, yes.
8. At that time, International Council for Science, some of the people came to Taiwan and tried to understand how are we prepare for the extreme weather events. And when they came, they stayed. Typhoon came, typhoon stayed, and in one day, this place dropped 1.7 meters of rain. 1.7 meters of rain, actually about my height. 1.7 meters of rain dropped in one day. So entire village is wiped away, and 700 people killed just for one day. This is called extreme weather event. So water is not always wonderful, Dr. Sometimes we have too much water, we suffer. Well, the following year, Taiwan getting bigger. The Taiwan hit Philippines. The Taiwan called Haiyan, but Filipino people say Yolanda typhoon. That wind speed at the time broke the record. The wind touched the earth, break the record, and brought lots of damages. So afterward, by 2015, many politicians started to be awakened. Scientists said, it's going to be bad, it's going to be bad. We have to control the temperature. We have to reduce the emission. In the year of 2015, in September, United Nations passed a Sustainable Development Goal. And in December, this is in Paris. Paris, after this terrorist attack in Paris, was quite chaotic for a while, but they are quite amazing. They hold this meeting, IPCC, and that was the first time politicians all over the world came together and conclude that we should reduce the carbon emission. And they came up with some solutions. It's a non-binding global agreement to move toward the 2 degrees centigrade limit. Because if we do not do anything to go up to 4 degrees, so the meeting said 2 degree limit, and ideally to a 1.5 degree centigrade limit, because 2 degrees is really horrible. And the way scientists present the global warming by 2 degree or 1.5 degree, really do not touch the heart of the people very well. Actually, 1.5 degree, if you look at the energy and all the extreme weather events, is horrible. They also agree that about $100 billion a year to help developing country by 2020. It means 2 years from now. Time is coming. From developed country to developing country, transfer to 100 billion a year. That's a small problem because global economic scale is 1,000 times more than that. But the third thing is to revisit carbon reduction plans in 2020. And that revisit, I am quite sure the so-called non-binding global agreement will be modified and something stronger control will take place in 2 years from now. Because this year really awakened lots of people. Let me show some of the seriousness of typhoon. This picture shows the damage brought by Typhoon Harvey within the last year. Brought lots of damage. I think it rained about 3 meters on 3 days, and wind and raindrop destroyed Houston area quite drastically. And last summer, we did see forest fire burning. This is the forest fire in California. In California, every year in August, start to have a forest fire, but this year is in June, started in June, and Sweden started burning earlier. And 23 places in Sweden was burning, then followed by California, Australia. Many places are burning, and we also see the typhoon which hit Japan very recently, the past summer. Kansai Airport was really very heavily damaged. I'm sorry to show that all the bad things done by water today. But the people's mind are quite simple. They always say, oh, we are not lucky this year. All those typhoons originally moved to Taiwan and then changed direction and hit Japan. This summer, all typhoons hit Japan. I was giving a lecture in Takamatsu, Japan, about a month ago. When I mentioned that, they all look at me. I said, no, I didn't do it. I didn't do it. It's just global weather pattern changes and all hit Japan. But next year, all those typhoons might hit Taiwan. But things are getting worse and worse. But as I said, people always feel that, that will happen only once in 100 years or once in 50 years. We'll not take it very seriously. But if you look at the Earth as its entirety all the time, then you see different picture. Let me show you a picture taken by satellite, NASA satellite, on August 23rd. This is the August 23rd. This is not the real picture of the Earth. It's the color-coded. The red means fire taking place. You saw the western coast of California, Washington area, forest fire, it was raging. In Asia, those smoke are really not the burning, but we burn those agricultural waste and those gray fuel, produce lots of carbon soot, is showing red. And many other places are really forest fire. And the green color is storm in the ocean, produce lots of tiny little particles, aerosols from ocean.
So what was the thing about ocean?
Typhoon will produce lots of aerosol particle in the air.
Yeah.
So the white part is the dust. Wind was blowing, the dust. So this is the picture. I said the earth is burning, it's boiling, getting worse and worse. And nowadays, somebody go to Siberia will find in the lake, used to be a tundra, frozen lake, melted, and gas are bubbling out, and those gases are methane, those are greenhouse gases. And one day, if lots of methane, which form as a methane hydrate, crystallate, it means that deep in the ocean, when temperature is cool, pressure is high, many methane is surrounded by water and called methane crystallate. And when the ocean warm up, that methane might be released. And some of the people said, well, we can use that methane to fire energy, satisfy energy need in the society. There are a lot of methane bubble out. Those are global warming gas, and more infrared will be trapped. And then when that happened, last year happened, temperature suddenly go up. It's not like 1.5, 2 degrees, it suddenly goes up. So it's interesting, in the year 2000, a Japanese scientist called Nishizawa Junichiro, he was the quantum physicist. Then he became the president of the university. He wrote a book with his friend, and he said, humanity will disappear in 80 years. That was in the year 2000. He said humanity will disappear in 80 years. The way he based his conclusion was because, as I said, when temperature go up to a certain degree, many things frozen in the lake or in the ocean will bubble out, and the temperature suddenly go up, and humanity will disappear. And when he published a book in the year 2000, not too many people take it seriously. But everything he said did have scientific base, and what happening now is exactly follow what he predicted. And this is quite sad.
Lare dan you don't lo ya tibres. Lo je juna lo ya ta kan da milag maris lab shas. Tem ye kumzen ko be gal ya rimbe ko do do lab shaba de tan da ko la ba na shin ki peje ta de chetu.
Yeah, that Professor Nishizawa Junichiro, is quite remarkable. Every time when he discussed with me about global warming, he always take a globe and take an entire globe to look at what is happening, rather than look at Japan and see what Japan is happening. He has a global view, but nobody like him in Japan because he always says something against their so-called common nonsense, not common sense. Well,
So, if you don't make, strong claims, people don't pay attention. So he needs to make those strong claims.
That's right. Also, my wife said, you have to say it in smiling ways. People will be
So Solon's wondering if it's true that in 80 years nobody will be left. He's wondering whether this is the kind of thing we should be doing now.
Well, that was one of the reasons during the last 2 decades. I spent most of my time on these issues, and I also ran for the presidency of International Council for Science. And because of this issue, as a scientist, I do feel some responsibility to deal with it. Now, the dilemma is the following. No matter where you are, especially in the developing country, you do see the one who are steering the wheel said, full speed ahead. We're talking about economic development. He said the free trade and globalization machine. In Taiwan, we have the similar problem. Industry, one president or prime minister to solve 5 things. He said, in order to develop, we need more energy, more water, more cheap labor, more talent, and more land. So they ask 5 things. On the other hand, say, no, we have too many too much greenhouse gases. Air is too dirty. It produces a lot of junks. So this machine should not just move on like this. We have to change. We have to reduce the pollution, reduce the greenhouse gases. Economy need to develop the transformational economy and transformational energy usage should take all those into account. Otherwise, humanity would not survive. That is the current awkward situation. So many months ago, many of our friends said, don't build a coal-fired power plant. Our government planned to build a coal-fired power plant in the northeastern part of Taiwan. Said, don't do it. We have to save the energy, transform the society. But we're happy. When we are on our way here, our Prime Minister said, okay, we'll stop building the coal-fired power plant. So we are really in this stage of negotiating environment for the future of humanity. What should be responsible for the next generation? For the next generation, they are in this situation. Somebody sitting behind said, do something. You bunch of maniac. It means, might be including me. Bunch of maniac. You're on the economic growth boat, and the boat will go down. Boat will go down. Unless we stop the water flow or turn the ship around. But many people in front, elderly people, will say, well, it's easy to just criticize young lady. And someone said, and I assume you got alternative or walk out. Have you? The other one said, hysterical maniac, historical ego fanatics, always telling people how to do, how to live. I say, get yourself a proper job. But that's the reality we are facing. How much time we have before the boat go down? Not much. This IPCC report said 10 years. We really have to make a great change in 10 years. And so, if I make a quick summary, I said, politically speaking, this is a global problem in need of global solutions. As I said, that we look at Earth, there's not really national boundary. Earth is one. It's a global problem. We need to have global solution. But now, United Nations want every country to reduce the carbon dioxide and said by 2050, we have to reach zero emission. We're always talking about every country. But rich country might be able to do it. Poor country will have a very hard time. And if something happens, the one who suffer will be the poorest country suffer first. The other thing is, socially, we must turn away from the path of the overdeveloped societies. When United Nations says Sustainable Development Goal, 20 years ago in Rio de Janeiro meeting, Prime Minister of Norway. He's an excellent scientific political leader. She defined sustainable development is the development which satisfies the need of the current generation and do not compromise the need of the next generation. And she says so. So everybody said that's a reasonable thing. Sustainable development is to satisfy our need and will not compromise the need of the next generation. But I disagree. I told her, what is the need? What do you mean by need? Do you need 10 kilowatt like every American live? Or you need 100 watt like some of the very poor people in Mumbai with one piece of clothes, smiling happily, they don't have anything, not have anything, just try to eat. If one human being
그래서
do not
그것이 힘도 그렇다.
로 배주지나 저봐. 데이터가 껴부서
if one human being just sleep and do not do anything, 100 watt will keep him alive. That might be the need for survival. For in America, 10 kilowatt. And so when you said to satisfy the need of our generation, 2 kilowatt enough?
고고 세들이자.
아.
다들 미랍디고 고고
그래.
세들다 고고 세들이야. 에너지 망용 것도 다는데 어린 메시게 다나시 게베는 에너지 고고 심무시 차게 알았어.
So whenever I went to the international meeting for the sustainable development, from the rich country, people would not compromise the so-called high living standard, keep on improving. So this is called need. But the need of the poor people in the poor country are different. So this is the one thing we really have to look at very seriously. Socially, we must turn away from the path of the overdeveloped society. Many of the society is overdeveloped. What is interesting, when I was in Sri Lanka, a large fraction of Sri Lankan are Buddhists. They can accept that we should live simply, and that idea Buddhists can accept. But all of the people in Europe keep on saying the economy will keep on the developing, energy requirement will go up, so we only want to use science to solve the problem. But I do believe socially we must turn away from the path of the overdeveloped society. Every society has to develop a different way. And technologically speaking, Mr. Lin, who left, he talked about how efficiently we can harvest the sunshine. 10 years ago, scientists predicted within 10 years, electricity generated by photovoltaic will be cheaper than electricity produced by burning the fossil fuel. And that goal has really been achieved now. The only thing is we do not know how to store those energy, electricity. So that need to do more. We might learn to split water directly into hydrogen and go into hydrogen society, or use electricity to store in the more efficient battery or transform some chemicals. So that's something we really need to learn. So we are now living in this earth, and this earth is not healthy. It got cold. Keep on coughing. We have to fix it. Otherwise, we know the sun will be burning. Human society might not survive. So everybody said, how can I go to maintain sustainability? So I simply said that the pathway to global sustainability, this is a global response to global problem. Everybody has to work together. now, every year, there are 2.5% of GDP was spent on the weapon. As Your Holiness talked about yesterday, so many weapons and making and killing each other. With those money, 2.3%, are used for sustainable development, for the social transformation, or technological transformation. We can solve the problem, but we are not doing that. The second thing is, we have to go back to nature, go back to sunshine. Don't believe that the men are the master of the nature, and keep forgetting that there are lots of energy coming from sunshine. We can use it rather than let sunshine heat up the house and keep on turning on the air conditioner and burn more energy. But the third thing, we learn to live better for less. And this is something I cannot convince the Western people to live better for less. And third thing is control population explosion. That is happening to some more industrialized society, but at the same time, our average longevity is increasing, and part of the population explosion is people are getting older, society are getting older. So that's something we really need to tackle. Maybe from the political, religious point of view, doctors try to cure diseases. We are pro-life. We want to eliminate cancer. We want to eliminate this disease, and life will become longer and longer. To replace the kidney, replace the heart, replace anything. And is that what we want to do? Excuse me. So, when we said control population explosion, I don't like people try to tell me, say, Professor Lee, you should do this, you should do that, then you will live 120 years old. I said, no. At the proper time, we just say goodbye. And And also the other important thing is improve equality around the world. What is really horrible in the past is like UN has a Millennium Development Goal and said we pull the people out of poverty, out of starvation. But this discrepancy between rich and poor is expanding, and society is moving toward the rich people's favor. So although people are out of poverty, they are not happier. So the equality is really very important. And I did say that we should live a simpler life. We might have a society, we don't need a car. In the last meeting, in the international meeting, people are excited that now technology has come to a point we can have a car without driver. Car will drive itself. So that will move into a so-called sharing economy. One does not have to own a car, but car shared by many people. You just type in your location where you want to go. A car will come automatically, will take you there. Then there will be more car. So there will be opportunity to make more business. I said, that's nonsense. That's nonsense. That's not the development of humankind. I do believe and agree with some other group of people. When people came from Netherlands, they said, well, recently, we are village are developing, and village people come to Amsterdam by train, then they start to ride bicycle or walk. So Amsterdam is an old city, road are narrow. So automobile is really not a wonderful place. But I was really impressed and amazed by the driver in Dharamsala. They are really better than quantum scientists. The way they make the
Dharamsala
judgment.
모르다니에서
and
달랑가
driving
파부가 땅키부터 쓰거든. 그 퀀텀 처리만 하시라셨어.
It's really, but what I'm saying is, if we move into a society such that our societies have a car-free man, it's men do not have car, just like this, we have public transportation, or you go to a society with man-free car without men, which is more advanced. I'm not sure we really want to go to a place with a car running, so many cars running around. And we also know that you don't need a big house. If you make the most of the smaller space, enjoy tiny energy bills. And also we can live in a clean place. Not really highly energy consuming way of living life. But I have been talking too long, except I want to show one of the picture of late Professor Sherry Roland. He was my very good friend. We worked together for quite a long time in many international scientific meetings. He was older. He worked on the ozone hole program you mentioned, and he made important contributions. He said, what's the use of having developed a science well enough to make prediction if, in the end, all we are willing to do is to stand around and wait for them to come true? So he did take action. In the 70s, when the ozone hole program, he understood the seriousness and how to cure it. He appeared in many gatherings in political organization and came to see Montreal Protocol to come to realization, and he made great contribution. So he did a great job. I admire him very much. Otherwise, as he said, science developed well enough to make predictions. If at the end all we need to do is to stand around and say, yes, global warming has come to a point we are all going to disappear. I was joking yesterday, I watched they build so much, they monitor, you slept 5 hours last night and a deep sleep on 1.5 hours, tell you everything. Maybe one day they'll tell me, Professor Lee, you are dead.
나는 등산다 주제야 예단 제번은 대 주류 구도네 수수닝 파르세단 되게 상관의 제도고 봐.
So today I'd like to discuss with you and that global warming issue is really very serious, and we really need to tackle it in earnest.
This is wonderful.
So I think
global warming is very, very serious matter. So due to that, more and more major disaster come. Everything, as sort of yesterday also is mentioned, everything interdependent.
Interconnected.
So we have to take care about the environment, and for that our lifestyle also is have to think seriously, and development itself is we have to think, use more solar system or air wind, right?
Solar energy,
pure.
And, wind energy.
So solar energy that 가스가야 지슈스도가 슈스도가 딜리 자신의 뭐기 딜 남당 디치데 the solar 슈스요.
So with respect to solar energy,
yes.
Harvesting seems to be kind of taking on. So more and more people are using it. So for example, right next to the Delhi airport, there's a solar energy field.
Yeah.
Then, I think yesterday or day before yesterday, one news in Delhi, the concerned sort of officials, they are thinking private car mortgage.
So they think of, in fact, gradually phasing off the ownership of private cars in Delhi.
Because of too much pollution. No? So people, you see, now the big company, big nation, I really, with respect, I really feel sad that America withdraw from Paris
Accord, yeah.
Accord. These are, it's quite sad. So now important is the scientist now, the consequences the educational success share.
So it seems to be important now for the scientists to really up their voice and really bring it into the whole education of the public about the predictions and really the danger that is facing us.
And then you also touch the poor, rich and poor.
Inequality.
Yes.
Oh. Very serious matter. The best thing, out of sense of compassion, you see, try to promote the poor people's living standard, their economic condition. And the richer people, more practice of contentment.
Love.
Contentment. So, last 2 days we very much sort of also discuss about external thing. Now, ultimately, it's a real change. Machine cannot do. Real change is a human heart. So now we have to think how to improve our thinking. The self-centered attitude is very harmful. Ultimately, individuals themselves also suffer. We are part of humanity. Global warming, these things, these individual people also suffer. So we have to think the global, issue, these things. So I feel that ultimately, you see, through education, change human sort of way of thinking. So that's, I feel, very important. Now, scientists, you see, shows on very detailed data. Wonderful. But ultimately, the human being's mind change. Not through law, but through education, knowledge. So in that part, the scientist, I think, very important. Make it clear. That's important. This is not just an academic thing, but related with the society, related with the whole world. So, if you see not sufficient change our mind, then we need another revolution, socialist revolution. If that kind of revolution come, I will join. With monk's robe.
I'll join you too.
Oh, okay, very good, very good.
I think, in a sense, scientists are waiting. We already said global warming, 1.5 degree, 2 degree, but since the temperature in the summer and winter change more than 30, 40 degrees, so 1 or 2 degree doesn't hit them. They said, oh, if you are warm, just turn on the air conditioner. 2 degrees doesn't mean anything for them. So I think we have to do a better job to explain the changing world, changing climate.
Degree needs liya sumliya kebal ya hita haling maros salo taya ta thanglo taya ga tone the zambuling jiong tone sheon de wala degree jing pare ne shi kebal
The other day, maybe I already mentioned the at a meeting, Nobel laureate meeting, about free nuclear weapon. Or I mentioned we should set one timetable. Then worldwide movement. So similarly, environment, these things. I'm hoping. I already sort of mentioned the Indian nuclear markers at the Nobel laureate.
The head of the international planet international yeah
One Nobel laureate.
Pachori.
See there. And anyway, I can't remember his name, but I know. You see, I know him, and recently, one occasion we met. Then I suggested, as a Nobel laureate, you should sort of organize one Nobel laureates meeting, peace
laureates,
peace laureate, and then also you should about environment. I think one particular sort of topic,
the focus,
environment, and then should invite some scientists and make clear the negative consequences if present sort of way of life continuously go. So these, I think, change through force is difficult, but through understanding, so through education, it is possible. So therefore, I think that like Nobel laureate meeting, and then some scientists, international scientists sort of meeting somewhere and discuss. And I think with scientists, maybe it's good to the A, B, C, D's
So one thing that would be really helpful is, something that the scientists can collectively produce on what we can do, A, B, C, and so on. So there are practical proposals that people can do.
Not only just idea, you see, must show the way. Then I think some effect, I think, come.
So
this year, 2018, is really a very unusual year because everything was predicted happening, and temperature hit the highest, and lots of calamity took place. So this year has wakened up lots of people. And as I said, we don't have much time left, but we still have time, and so should not give up.
80 years, but
the prediction of 80 years end of humanity might be a little hard to take for people.
That's right.
So I think we're going to stop for a tea break for 10 minutes.
Yes, good.
We'll break for 10 minutes, not more than 10 minutes. Yeah. I've been asked by the organizers to moderate this second half of our morning session. So first, I would like to thank Professor Lee for your, very powerful presentation and reminding all of us, what we are facing and, responsibilities this knowledge places on all of us. So what I would like to do is I would like to open the field, the floor to all the participants. But before I do that, with Your Holiness's permission, I would like to acknowledge two very special guests that Office of His Holiness invited to this conference as observers. So these are the leaders of two Mind and Life organizations. So can I invite Professor Susan Bao-Wu to stand up? She is the president of Mind and Life Institute based in United States. And Ms. Amy Varela, can you stand up? She is the chair of Mind and Life Europe. And these two Mind and Life organizations have been really a main vehicle that has initiated and developed further and also continue to facilitate important conversations between investigative traditions coming from the Buddhist and contemplative traditions and contemporary science. So I just wanted to acknowledge their presence here. So what I would like to do is to invite the presenters now to take this opportunity to have as much as possible kind of a conversation, as we have now listened to everybody's presentation. So there's a kind of a integrated view or understanding emerging in our brain now. So you can take this opportunity, each of you, to either pose a question to your colleague or to our two senior statesmen here, Professor Lee and His Holiness, or you can take the opportunity to, add further where you thought you did not have enough time and you would like to clarify certain points or elucidate certain points that you made presentations. I will leave that to you. So there are two microphones on the table. So if you can, anyone, I would like to now invite you. The floor is open, yeah.
Wow, okay.
Yeah.
It's a pleasure. Maybe I can
Yeah,
start.
it's on.
Yeah, okay, it will be a good opportunity for me. Your Holiness, I really like to know your view from your personal experience and then also the religious. As my question of yesterday, in my presentation, the last page, because you're talking about this, we have this empty space, but I have to put in something randomly. That's what we see in the material we study. When you have a very old empty space and then put in randomly the species of interest, then we get something interesting coming out. Just like Professor Lee said, we are looking for just a space, a room, and then change it and something coming out. So what's your view, from your personal view, of this kind of picture?
Kurang kasan dan di tamche shube kaliya thame tom delia tanu kuzudi jakche re kashe liya ani duten so ndu kaliya tongcha swebe na tongcha swebe gen sabaji teje ani namju sab thyon go dus de za tongcha digi tone ya nega chagyo seres ani kanda changma batakta cha digdenye na an koliya sarbai ke da de ko kapshita yo marwas these are empty space digi kanda jik sarba ke da namkyu thya da del khebaj chimbuj dugu yosar tin zam kun ne ta kuran dan nangbe tongba ni de le samdang yosar ti deba chag medros ta tongba ni ge tone namsha she go ro ba de ku
다 맞아. MD 사 시도 전에 지단이 그 차라 먹고 셔로 와.
lare
변한 안 가도 돼. 다 독신 동버시 셔로. 그래도 파티클 되나 다다 칸도.
lare. So in fact, when we talk about empty space, again, you have to think in terms of the scale and the framework. So like in this room, we have spaces to move around, so it's an empty space. But then if you probe further, there's a lot of particles still moving in this empty space. So it's not absolutely empty. So the idea of empty space seems to be, adjusted to the framework that we are talking.
다 뒤터로가 말레인데 다 양 지기 코페지 거거리.
So if we're talking at the level of the atomic level, then, each atom is going to occupy a space. So it's not going to allow another atom to take its place. So there is a kind of a spatial occupation of a space.
다 제자가 Bena, do terror ye devachigla, do terror the medinegi, dongsha menaya, yunguchituru. Shasma.
Kandislo.
Da the rabba, rabajig the congagesh mena, and do terror be can't they are they, could you?
Larim.
Because a Tori, the Chimidua,
Larim.
Kazakishon, Shih,
Long.
because a day Thomas is shadow of the Redua. That do Turuga is the name, could G Pasha taught to worry, ready in a rugby soon, Koya, Goginkichmar.
So
There's a moment you say.
So the idea of how empty space plays a role in this physical interaction seems to be a complicated one. So if you look at the atomic level, it is conceivable that the particles may knock on each other, but that still does not preclude the possibility of these particles having the space to move around, to express their existence. So the role space plays seems to really differ.
And 가도다 실로 내주 장장 셔대 거봐. 봐. 다시 관점 집 실로 셔대 거봐. 서다 아주 난기 로스야디 거도 구두르 셔도나 삼찬수. 같이 주가냐 됐은가 저좀 민이 좀 셔지 되게 아니 수가 저좀에 삼로 땅 오르슬는 삼로 나로 콜로 콜로
So, having listened to all the presentations, these amazing presentations on quantum physics, we were really focusing on the external reality, the materials, the physical world. But we also need to now turn our attention and focus inward. So this reminds His Holiness of one of the attendants from his childhood who would every now and then remind the young Dalai Lama to the importance of contemplation. And he would say that to do contemplation, you have to turn a wheel inside.
Oh, 자상가. 다 안다가 저 시야 돼디 디두는 저요. 디두서 디 시베 샤샤레마도 뭐부 샤샤마다.
Because from a kind of a larger perspective, all of our quest of knowledge, even about the external world, is ultimately motivated by some experience of human experience. And when we're talking about sentient beings experience, so the experience is really defined by pleasure and pain and neutral experience. Then we are already, the moment we bring the question of experience, we're talking about a being, a subjective being, a creature.
As I already mentioned, the Western psychology, they mainly refer sensorial level, not mental level. Then these the feeling of pleasure or sort of cause of pain related with mental level, not sensorial. Sensorial just bring information. The real sort of experience, mental level. So now I think I already mentioned, you see, among the scientists, many scientists, and especially brain scientists, you see, they do not sort of accept the existence of mind,
consciousness,
sixth mind, beside brain. So now, obviously, according to the Indian tradition, and also some Chinese meditator, and Japanese meditator, Vietnamese, Korean,
so we have, cases where meditators are able to remain completely single-pointedly absorbed in a state of mind for, more than an hour at a time.
Oh, one of my friend, American, he, you see, can stand still mind.
Single-pointed alone.
Or single-pointed mind, and then mind, you see, not attracted, not follow the sensorial sort of experience, just mind. So he can remain there 3 hours. Then when you see he fully concentrate about 3 hours, then some deeper experience also now arise. So these are something living thing, something true, and not just the
So we don't need to invoke the stories about great masters of the past that may have lived 1,000 years or 100 years ago, but these are phenomena of our time.
So, and also I think I already mentioned Richard Davidson
So His Holiness already mentioned the American scientist who has initiated a project to study the Tukdam phenomenon, which is the phenomena of a person remaining in a state that is beyond clinical death, but with the body fresh.
So, and then some people remember past life. Ada nge koyalia, ada America dani, ada kare, the New York ya, the kangwa chimu shibu new jik dollar wada, karsa timindi.
September 11th.
Ka.
Twin Tower. Twin Towers.
Twin Tower.
No.
Cheno, tudu shishibu michi, ada bukuchi, tudu kare seba, shibu jik seba shaya tu sudwa.
So recently, His Holiness heard of a case in America where there was a child who can recall quite vividly the experience of dying in the September 11 attack and the destruction of the Twin Towers.
Among Tibetan also you see there are, and some among Indian also. Now later, I think I did not sort of the contract, but otherwise, one occasion I met one girl, I think 6-year-old, from Bodhiyala. That girl very clearly remember about past life. So on, there are, I myself, met, some children who have clearly remember about past life. So my own case, I think when I was very young, seems to see there are some memory about past life that my mother told me. Then getting, because older, all this memory gone. That also we can say the very young age, 2 year, 3 year, 4 year, 5 year, the new brain not yet fully developed. At that time, the vague memory about past life still, because of that, can be more active. Then this new body, new brain, further develop. Then these sort of memory eventually disappear. So recently, I met one of students in like young city, Chang Singro, Rangi Singro. So, so lesson in Miranda, Ganden Chen, Pamatin Murta, Ngade two. And Quran, dealing it does the malis, and she would also change. Begay Gande combat to neck come prayers. Any Shazil to the city, that me chong come with an le charms dinner and make she use love. How live that Ratchorisha.
So there was recently a case of a young Tibetan boy who was...
that Hindu are raging at the tools. Basically, Oxachi ninja. That young is Timudusa. That Taviajan and Robochav study.
So there's a case of a young boy who was recognized as the reincarnation of a senior Tibetan teacher at one of the monasteries in Ganden. and was born in Tibet. And actually, as a child, said that I need to go back to my monastery. So when they took him to the monastery Ganden in Tibet, he said, not this one. So the one in India. So they brought him, and as they reached the outskirts of the monastery, the boy was able to point which part of the monastery, where he's from, and also went to the room of the past master, and opened one of the drawers and said, those are my glasses, reading glasses. Did you look at you? About 4 or 5, yeah. And then, so His Holiness was saying that recently he met, now he's a young man. So His Holiness asked him, do you still have faint memories of your past life? He said, no. So I said, well, welcome and join me.
There's no way to preserve that?
The Ngemang Temple the Malabanya, Tapshi Yomarves,
I think some my friend, meditator. When they meditate, the single-pointed way about the mind, sixth mind, then gradually the grosser level of mind become
thoughts. They dissolve,
more weak. Then the some sort of memory about past life. Then sometimes you see appear. One of my topuchi when I chubbery. Crossang, could you Lama Chukarsa? Ka.
Kalurmsi Marwas.
Ka. Da Gauchan, Ming Chan, those Kauchi. Or the kind of Kong Adinsa Ka Marimari.
Boga Marwa.
Marimar. Chen order. Other didn't answer the Dida Gigan Dadanzu Lama Chigi, could you Lamakasa? Pukuran Chigari, Shazor Jarbu in Jardonia. Chung-Yuan Mou Galare. Yaozi Kirkadu, Shoji Ninja. Chang Lomare. When you don't judge it, go Mali Betkala, Chigia goes in the Chigri. Or Tinsa, Gubchi, Maran, to be such to come. The Comtevni. And to do Jig Lame. Good in just Chinese. And the table shooting skin, the Diginalia, Gomlados, Lord Daddy Zane, Gyangamat, Chang Wissa. Chazango, Lotos, the Casopi, Nessa Temple chair, any rugby lodi, the table shook how shooty, the Mishusa. Table shook how shooty in the Sane, Lord Robert the doors, Marshuk Chonchi. The Digitone. Child Lotia doors, Layundu, any young attenders. Korang Sangati. Could you think
So His Holiness, one of his friends, a colleague, a Kagyu master, I don't know. So one of his colleagues, a close friend, a Kagyu master, shared with him that, once in this person's meditation, he was able to go very deep into a meditative state, inspired by the recollection of the kindness of his guru. And that led to a very devotional experience in his mind, which then allowed the mind, the everyday mind, to really kind of, still and quieten it. And then after that, when he was able to remain single-pointed on this, it's as if the grosser thought processes come to kind of, quieten and remain still. Then there were moments he could actually have, some memory, kind of, glimpses coming from his past life. So he actually shared that experience directly with His Holiness.
Yeah. He very honest. So I don't think he
would tell
telling lie.
No.
Otherwise, some lamas, there is danger to telling lie.
Okay.
Chii says, you do.
the cover there. Is it on? Can you? Yeah.
Your Holiness, I have 3 questions, 1 from me and 2 from friend Miss Lai. The first question is that this few days we talk about a lot on this superposition principle. So I was curious that when you do meditation, I mean analytical meditation, does this quantum physics viewpoint help you to do, mechanism meditation? And the second question is that this meeting, do you think the meeting reached the original goal you expect? The third question is that after the meeting, do you have any suggestion to, or expectation for this Chinese scientist community? Okay, that's my third question.
좋습니다. 당부디 단다 퀀텀 기토네 다시 해봤다 가서님 가시 주시로 봐. 이 퀀텀 기토 저기 장군전 랑게 냠 가다 냠시에 나올이야. 제고 못올이야. 미세 투벤 소유나 맨나 간데 대원 가다 자고 나서죠.
My daily sort of practice is meditate on shunyata, 공신.
Emptiness. Yeah.
That's a very important part of my meditation. And then altruism. 딱한다 벽에 actually 동리 다다 장주 셈다 내배 냠ling 티리. 전에 간다다 식사한다. 남시人좀 직접도 된지 밀로 통 3년에 니시 유인전다 근증나 대세다 잡아서 와서 상 리롤리도 찍었다. 라라브라 요마다.
So the heart of my daily meditation practice really consists of 2 main themes. One is the cultivation and deepening of my insight into the teaching on emptiness, the shunyata. The other one is the cultivation and the further development of altruism, the bodhicitta, which is the aspiration to attain Buddhahood for the benefit of all beings, grounded in a universal compassion. So those are really the 2 main focus. So with respect to emptiness, there is an important passage in Tsongkhapa's short text called 3 Principal Elements of the Path, where Tsongkhapa talks about how when you reach a point where without interruption, if you are able to recognize the essential empty nature of whatever you are observing with a simple awareness of their dependently originated nature. So in other words, the mere perception of the phenomena as a dependent phenomena, dependently originated thing, immediately give rise to the awareness of their essential empty character. So at that point, the analysis, the path of analysis, the journey of analysis has reached its culmination. So His Holiness was saying that he feels he's getting there, so getting close to it.
자, 들으인데 샤 나에 여tases다. 다 간줄다 간다다 태랑기 그 따와 차라전다 가정 건지 차라유다 저저지 쉬우진 가 버려셔. 사이네 그게 능두니네 그 시드나오는 시 때문에 사무직이 섬는 게 맞는 것도 와. 그 땡지 밀로 통연도 전에 다 가다 시한다 뜨는 저 마도 랑가 좀 되는 지. 다 디시도 패는 지기요래. 아니 유로 가르슬라나 다 대남식대 남제 제배 남도 요 뭐인식 대대션도 주고 지든 작별관에 요 있어야 돼. 다 민성 다좀 사고 딱딱 놓되기도 와.
So
다디 다하스 디께서 말해. 지기 떠루고 기지고 말해. 다 되게 뭐서라. 아니 취미식 남도 제야디 가서 걸어봐. 컨트라피스토네 취미식 남도 제야디 그 숙충주의도지. 다 세지부터네 가시지 통제요래. 저다 되는데 최첨지 나왔다도 던지 뭐냐 좀 지 타 쇼인도 전에 지 취미식 남도디 숙충도 되게디 로데도 디슈 출심의 경기 차단 걸로 디디 숙충주의와 사회자리 Any chakdang gain is an ekanda, charging nga sag, nganzingo shuksham shujari. The nganzingo cho nine, nganzi gopcha shungin cho nidua. Damido with diaton, some stein is an echo nganzin jikshuk. Any Dr. Shenji together, Yanda Jawa Majana, and Sanjay to me, Koana, Dewa Messini, Tachiklu, Ranjin, some down in the Kuya, Sagoloto, Shuksung Rotitua. She was Pendodo.
So,
Chesan and Jungazo, Use, Singing Sigari. That woman Tawada, Jujun Sung Sheve, Dakshan Chanjuk Nibuti, Singing Shevina, Tande.
So earlier I forgot to point out one fact that Holiness was citing from Tsongkhapa's text, which involves the idea that when you reach the culmination of your inquiry, then all basis for objectification comes to an end. Because we have a tendency generally to grasp at things, to seek something that is congruous, something that is out there. But when you reach the culmination of your inquiry through the logic of emptiness, there will be no basis left at all for objectification. So now, all of this, then Tsongkhapa goes on to say that when you have that kind of understanding of the world, then the very world of appearance will remind you of their essential empty nature. Because in our naive, realistic view of the world, we tend to believe in the apparent world. We tend to go after the appearance. But through this kind of, analytic thinking, you come. Okay. So then you immediately recognize that there is a. So normally we chase after the appearance. We believe in our perception. But with this kind of logic, you immediately, the moment you perceive phenomena, you immediately are aware that there is a disparity between our perception and reality. So you don't believe in the appearance. So in this way, the appearance itself reminds you of their essential empty nature, so that the appearance and reality really come to be united. So there is no gap. And the power of that is then it will really help you sort of, undercut the whole psychological process that normally give rise to our negative reaction to phenomena. Because generally, if you examine when we relate to the world, because of the fixation on some kind of objective or reality out there, we tend to grasp, and this grasping then give rise to false projection, false kind of, conceptualization. And this false conceptualization involves attributions of, quality on the phenomena, which then give rise to our reaction based on either attraction or repulsion, manifesting in the form of attachment or aversion, and then it opens up the whole chain. So whereas if you do this, process of thinking through emptiness, you remove the basis for any false projection and false conceptualization, which then, leaves no basis for the strong emotional reactions to arise. So that really seems to be, so in this context, at least with relation to the physical things, quantum thinking will really help. Because quantum will, mechanics picture of the world will show that the physical world is more complex than we tend to naively assume. So therefore, less basis for grasping. So in this area, as some scientists point out, there is a possibility that it can lessen your tendency to grasp. So, and it will be really helpful. So now, what you need to do is you need to combine that with bodhicitta practice, so generally what happens is that a lot of our problem really comes from strong clinging to a notion of self, I. And there seems to be two ways in which you can undermine this, knock at it. One approach is the emptiness approach that we just spoke about. The other approach is really to look at, how self-centeredness leads to all sorts of problems, and how we open up our view and perceive others in a different way. So this is all the teachings that we find in Shantideva's Bodhicharya Avatara, And if you sort of that involve meditations of exchanging and equalizing self and others, so if you combine the emptiness, practice with the practice of exchange of self and others, which is an altruism practice coming from Shantideva's text, then you really have a powerful practice.
자상가 지신난가 내버던 로시신 내죠. 지시다는 내죠네. 저도 소셜사이드다. 네 물론자 쏘다 들이. 아니 로제주시고 저불 매버자네 나 못으니. 링 샹다 샤바즈랑 네 판도시 되그리.
So, and therefore, in his own daily, everyday practice, one of the most powerful sources of inspiration is the following passage from Shantideva's text, where Shantideva makes the aspiration that as long as space remains, as long as sentient beings remain, may I too remain to help relieve dispel the sufferings of the world. So, this particular verse, has a tremendous power of inspiration. So therefore, even though if the scientists are right and the world is going to, the humanity is going to disappear from this particular planet in 80 years, but there are other universe systems, and my hope is that I'll be in those universe systems still serving the needs of other sentient beings.
야, 내가 유치기 와다. 개구리 소리 떠서 이 또 하고 싶어서 가서 직시. 야가 좀 잘못어. 때도 왜 sikti. 어디 때도 왜 난 직 때는 중에 교생이 탔다고 할 미든시. 렉슨 되는 근처에 마와라는 매배교 사줘봐. 개구리 소리 자 가리야 돈이 따와를 뺐지. 그게 돈을 레야 돼 개구리 소리 거든이 빼거든 전부에 자외 역시차래 할 레벨이 제 개인가 디스무시청기 때는 중에 교생이 탔다고 할 미든시 렉슨 되는 근처에 마와라는 매배교 쓰는 소야디 때는 중에 교생이 탔다고 할 미든시 쓰는 소야디 꼭 하고 싶을 쓰는 순기 저상가 나 당연히 과대어도 말다 다 배질로 동이 다 삼다는 로튼주 신샤 다 개 가서 그게 난된체네 지 니지신도 다 동이 삼다 전다 배질로 없었습니다 지도다 어떻게 쉬어야 돼 넘시는 저 버지 던데 물로 통해서 인신 준다 군징을 사디 과로 거를 인도잖아 디 강에 주는면도 다 안돼 가서 때는 중에 교생이 아니 때네 시간에 아니 찬다 그래 땅듯이 중세되기 찾아듯이 저상가 동원이 있어야 돼 고불로 주고 타전 송사를 대신에 주면 수신 가서 고불로 대신에 주고 되는 동원이도 시 되는 때에다가 되니 오면 라면은 송샤다 되기 사 쉬르셔 생각이 시도 쪼쪼치긴 되었다. 다. 아든가 고음시라 요말이 심지식이 공론수에 계면 누가 다 공론 매상 제식에도 요말이 실제식이 공을 걸어주는 천들을 졸람 토명에서 뭔가 저렇게 요다. 그래서 돈이 공중 토에 있는 졸람 토 걸어 봐. 대지 졸람. 자주선 배실 걸어 요래 저들이 인도 대지 졸람이
So this reminds His Holiness of one of his, attendants at a very early age who was assisting him in his studies, in the philosophical studies, and a particular person by the name of Ngudup Sonyi Tsenshap. He was really, the most important person at the time with respect to, awakening interest.
Inner Mongolia, his native place is Abak, part of Inner Mongolia.
So he was
top scholar.
So he was the person who really made a huge difference in awakening in His Holiness, a deep, interest in Nagarjuna's philosophy of emptiness. So this, Geshe, a scholar, used to say he would cite a passage from Tsongkhapa. There is a praise to the Buddha for teaching dependent origination. The passage says that the statement that, because of dependent origination, one will not fall into any extremes, And this is the truth that you have taught. And that is the best way of praising the Buddha. So that is the passage. So I'm just paraphrasing the translation. So, and Ngurub Tsonyi would cite that passage and tell His Holiness when he was young, saying that the first two lines, it's a tough one. I still can't get it. So His Holiness was saying that, so over a period of 60, 70 years, since he began taking serious interest in Nagarjuna's teachings, philosophy, and now, when he remembers that statement and looks at that particular passage, he could boast and say, that doesn't seem to be that hard now. So, the Sundu Toma Miu Gongsheta, Miu to Shong-Yuan, and somebody Maung that never carried Cerebzolia to Karyonas.
Very good.
So I'm the second question. And third, yeah.
Now, like the importance of environment, as you Kazoda explained this morning very detailed, and then also the other speakers. These are, I think, it's very important. You see, some kind of warning, not a political reason, but as a result of study, investigation, give some kind of warning. Very good, very useful. Now, one thing not very clear, that is a quantum, the person who truly believes, you see, nothing exists as appears. You see, that some sort of the impact in our the touch도 상보다 touch도 내버려 되는 차단 걸로 돼. 될 중인 대학생들이 아주 더한다. 그것도 쉽게 중요한 말이다.
So one thing that from His Holiness's point of view, we would like to see further kind of discussed is the impact one's understanding of the quantum physics might have on one's perception of reality and its implications for one's tendency to look at things in black and white terms, sort of our tendency to be absolute in relation to things.
So that part reserved for future discussion.
Yeah.
And then, as I already mentioned, you see, the scientists from the West, wonderful, really wonderful. But then, you see, their whole culture is very much related with the concept of God, creator. In Asia, not that. See, something, some sort of Indian tradition clearly mentioned self-creation. It's no creator. So therefore, all the responsibility is on your own shoulder. So training of mind becomes very important. It is not sufficient just to pray. As a Buddhist, pray to Buddha. Buddha himself, so Buddha
himself made the following statement, that the Buddhas don't wash away the negative karma of sentient beings, nor can he transplant his own realization in others. It's only by showing the truth that he himself have found to others, he can lead them to freedom. And then Buddha also made the statement that you are your own master, you are your own savior.
So training of your own mind is the key thing. So many Tibetan and some Chinese also, you say, Amitop. All responsibility put on because Amidawa. Oh, Amitop. Many Tibetan also you see, Kunjo Chen, Sim Chongda Sha Kishkim Hache. Kunjo Rangi Nangi was Kunjo Chen Savage.
So same thing with Tibetans, they often give the impression that they place all their trust in the 3 jewels as if they don't have to do any work themselves.
Like that. So this, I feel, is more easier discuss with Asian scientists. You see, your mind in deeper level, not fixed, creator, absolute. I think yesterday I mentioned the Father Wen called Losung.
Father Wen,
One, my great friend, Catholic monk, Father Wen, now no longer, passed away. So, and many occasions we discuss about, how to develop compassion and also understanding impermanence. These things is common. So we discuss. Then one day he asked me about the emptiness, Kung-Xing. Then I respond, don't ask that, that is not your business. Because according to the Kung-Xing, nothing independent existence. That theory might hinder his single-pointed faith, creator absolute. So I stop. Don't ask that. That's not your business. Like that. So that is
For Asians, this is not an issue.
And then also, one time I asked Father Wayne, if you accept previous life, what is
the theologically speaking? What is the problem?
Then he said, no, we can't, because this very life created by God. So you see, in a deeper level, you see certain religious sort of concept, you see little differences. According to theistic religion, creator. The non-theistic, no creator. So it makes differences. So I really very much enjoy talking or discuss with Asian scientists. Really. Our talk, even I think, help to reduce the conviction, Amitov. Deeper.
So then that's not a problem. It's okay.
I do have a question.
Oh, yes.
When I was young, my mother asked me to kill the chicken for the New Year. So I have to give the prayer. So I'm sorry that you are going to die, but hopefully next generation you are born in a rich family and will have a better life. So I have to repeat this, and every time because my mother didn't want to kill any chicken, so I have to do it. But my question is the following. You believe in the previous life and the next life. Is that important for humanity to survive on the surface of Earth? If 1,000 years later, a monkey take over, or other species take over, would that concern you? Or is it important for humanity, human being, to continue to...
These are... No, I think we are not talking just this world, this planet.
So multiple world systems, according to Buddhist cosmology, in fact, talks about countless world systems.
깨고 가야 돼 마음 주의 센데. Did subject what
So this reminds His Holiness of a senior monk from the Namgyal monastery. He was the ritual assistant, and as he was beginning to hear more about the modern reality and the contraception issues and so on, so one day he shared with His Holiness. He was a little concerned. He was saying that it looks like the chances for being reborn as a human is getting less and less because people are using contraception. So His Holiness was saying that his thinking was just too narrow. There are other world systems.
자물은디 용서 동 사수네. 가서 현재 예요.
So even if our current, present universe come to an end, there will be other world systems.
Yeah.
그래서 동니 주도 시험에는 찍어요. 통화하면 찍어서
친부동문이야.
가. 저다 간다 통화도 통화해야 돼.
통화매를
저상가. 드리 인도산에 다디 심전 세베 다 가고 싶어래. 심전 저장고 지 타이 개회 타 용도래. 다 심전 지용 시험에 있나? 전다 장면랑 장면랑 저러 봐. 다들 장면랑 가서 쇼버서나 지도 거버 근전이 야마다人心도 저디가 다.
So from the Buddhist point of view, actually, not only is the universe systems understood to be countless, also sentient beings is understood to be countless. So we can speak of a beginning of a life, an end of a life, of a specific, life cycle, but one cannot speak of the beginning and the end. So it's a sort of a countless systems. So there is no So there is no beginning. So there is no beginning when it comes to universe, and there is no end. One can talk about a specific universe beginning and end.
So
근데 먼저 이제 류입에 그도 지금 해외 급입에 나올이야. 통화 매스 콜.
라렐.
그래. 통화 탐했어.
탐하면.
가.
라렐.
So when you see the global warming, which hurt the poor people or the next generation, then I would say that we should do our best to prevent giving such a difficult time for the poor people in the younger generation.
그래.
But in the long run, on the other hand, you talk about humanity will disappear. And lots of people said, who cares? Dinosaur disappears. Humanity might disappear also. So
God will take care.
So there's some discontinuity between protecting the next generation and then what happened to the foreign generation.
가자.
데 고유의 내수토로 삼시당 백업에 초진 우주기 참 시부지 많이 받이 로봇체 개침 차고로 야 야체선의 사면들과야 포장을 배도는 시행들과 남시질이야 로미 참만 매버 차야 시행들과 디양 급가실이야 총계도 버지 견다도 버지 통하기 따주 연구도 섬미가실
Every sentient being, they have the mind. With mind, feeling there. So, joyful feeling and unhappy feeling there. That's the really mover, whole evolution take place because of that. So,
for survival.
Oh, yeah. Looks an evolution.
So this is how evolution of life is driven.
So therefore, every sentient being, you see, loves their own life, love to oneself. So therefore, the insects, they have not much intelligence, so they do not know their long-term consequences. But only human species, this special brain, so we have the ability to think century after century or millennia.
Millennium.
Like that. So then, see some of our way of life, and once because of the single-pointed, short-sighted, just a material development, and not much concern about consequences. So therefore, they like you and those scientists I already mentioned, you see, make clear if present sort of situation goes continuously, or we will face some extra problem. Then now, poor people, richer family, they have all facility, air condition, everything. Poor people very much depend on just nature. So the world temperature increasing, then these poor people suffer most. Richer family, in any way, they can manage. So the gap rich and poor, not only morally wrong, but practically also source of problem. The majority are poor people. So if the majority really face some problem, then few handful, the billionaire or millionaire, they also suffer. So therefore, we need a sense of oneness of 7 billion human beings and concern about 7 billion human beings. If we really, you see, take care about 7 billion human beings, as human brothers and sisters, I think much problem, including ecology, these things, can reduce. So century old, we only, you see, think oneself and their family, their community, their nation. Like that. So these things, not creation of mission, but creation from here. So we have to talk more about here, not external things.
I agree. I'm also curious. You smile at me, so I smile at you. And my wife will be happier when I go back home. She said, well, now you can smile better after you meet you.
Actually, one sort of story. Called me the Haza. I'm a Tenrichi, American Tenrichi. Couldn't have you long years.
Paul Ekman. Paul
Ekman.
Yeah.
Now they told me, because a dog is in Luncheon Lama Chassa.
So this reminds His Holiness of a story of one of the very senior scientists in America. Is expert on emotion by the name of Paul Ekman. So Paul had participated in one of the Mind and Life dialogues, and at that time he interacted with His Holiness, and he generally had a problem with anger, the regulation of his anger. But he said after that 5-day interaction with His Holiness, he went back, and for about an entire month he did not lose temper. So his wife was very impressed. So, you have really changed.
That's great.
Did I tell you already? Miss some Bustor Chigina, Tangazu de Chiga was a daddy or Chikde, Shanachas or Chingam Rashas or K Meadows, that is something good.
So that's true, because sometimes, people tend to get so caught up in their own anxiety and stress, which is focused on a very narrow view of their life. When you are able to participate in an experience like this, where there is a genuine openness, a space is created, and when you get an experience where you let down your guards, you don't have to be hyper vigilant and be stressed, that experience really opens up a possibility of experience.
대대 간상으로 미직육 두시디 타는 거다.
And all of this, His Holiness was saying that he would say really arises from a recognition of shared humanity.
If you smile at the dog learn how to smile back at you.
The kilpa the zumba chebena zumba tembena kin ngone chu smile chitoya tapshi yonas.
그래서 개무게하다 개가 버데 이니 슈구유구다. ninja.
So I don't think they're capable of smiling, but they will really wag their tail much better.
And then they licking.
And then they lick.
Yeah.
Very beautiful.
Yeah.
I think except the mosquito, I don't know whether they have the ability to show appreciation. So many times I expressed this one time, Oxford, when I talk in the front line, some professors, many professors there. I asked them, which level of
What
brain?
size? What size of brain? Yeah.
Oh, which level? Brain have the ability, appreciation. So nobody answer. So the reason is, like a mosquito seems to say no ability to appreciation. Other animal, yes. If you show affection, they also respond.
Yeah.
Yes?
So I think unless you have a question, yeah, you've been waiting there.
Yeah, as a researcher, and if we want to conclude something, we always need to repeat our measurement using different samples and even using different techniques. And finally, we can publish the work. But for this work to be recognized, then it has to be repeated by people, researchers in other countries. Okay, so and your examples about, say, past life, something is very interesting, but I just don't know how to repeat this type of evidence, and so that we can make this a very rigorous statement. So can you comment on that?
Tsering tona shebe na Quran so that cheba truptun ji yuna truptun di that tsering tudeb nal parja urwa de parja bala ya review chinyen digi and dana de cheba chega thalam thege to ne cheba na truptun ji gun yegi yu ma da repeat chego da repeat ma chena ku evidence mun jin chigo marwa kyarde chema to be na 지금 예수 랍샴 지고 뱅겨 말 신다조 그 제바제베나 톱든 다가라 예고 그거와 대사 더 리피트 제고 두가라 근데 내가 돈에 텐당 원진 제제 톱든데 참아 지게 걸어왔어 단데 다 세리로 나 제베나 단다 정부 제가 나에게 개원같이 그 용어들이 다 세리 그돈 다제 제베나 아니 세 돈에 세제 세리 그다 텐다나 신기 루트에 탐문데 가려요나서 탑람 가려요나서 다지 프루프다 되려나 야고 미소 직 이제 제야다 도나체들 개반도 그랬어
다지도 서로 또 자셔보다는 배는 지리지 감디 가설려야지 동백개와 착백개와 내백개와 집백개와서 열어
그래
다 도신 시전에 왜 심지어 타협지 다 직다 간다 유예되지 다 디도도 쉐이드 전에 탈 파파 또 이전에 배질 배나 강버지게 미지 강버디나 되게 미지 예배 있잖아요. 그 강버지가 어려다. 재산가 뺀진 잡으르지. 강도 긴줄기 샘센지 예배 있잖아요. 디지둥 레지 왕게 단 점물린디 차. 너지된디 차. 다 디도 선상시우 단 직지주잖아요. 아니 가다 가서 우리 그게 심지어는 통화매대와 다 통화매대와 시통마로 봐. 다 된제기 돈에 개와 통화매보다 this is the page to do. 다가는 중국 수다 겨 정해요래. 진짜 용기요래. 간다지 껴응시 캐말라나 야나지도 거 보고 되고래. 야는 규미 게임을 좀 시작하래. 진짜로 리뷰도 와. 사카서 응원가서 저제다. That's something possibilities. 가셔 줘봐이나. The possibility 매를 거도 잡아잡아서나 견도 여도비지. 이 차이는 자네다 견도 뉴어디 possibility 있다 개념적으로.
So in the classical tradition, the proofs for something like the pre-existence comes from many different angles. One of which is the larger picture of the evolution of the world systems that we spoke about yesterday. That how universe goes through a period of emptiness, then formation, then for a long time it remains, and then destruction. Then repeats the cycle again. So from the Buddhist point of view, all of these universe systems are connected with sentient beings who would later inhabit these universe systems. Then the question is, how do we understand the evolution of life or evolution of consciousness, which is the defining characteristic of sentient creature? Then you have two choices. One is to say, go to the theistic route, to say that everything is created by prior design, or go to the other route, which is to say it just comes spontaneously. There is no reason. Both of these possibilities are fraught with logical problems. So then the conclusion is that one needs to at least account it on the basis of a causal principle, and then you look at what the causation is, and so it's a sort of a it's a cumulative, approach, which really is seen as a proof or evidence.
So that the 기지기지기도 직배다니 그다 그 주지 요즘에 그 기지기지 지기 어렵다. 저다 교를 약하서 무슨 럽차리 천지진다 년龄이 주. 자 친구 아니 뒤 참을 내게 되지 그 년龄 샤고 요즘에 너무 동네 너 지금 마셔봐 바라리 있네 스페이스 파티클 도와 너 지금 차야 대 균을 토마샤도 말해 그 제균서를 시험이나 토마샤도 말해 배는 간주 류드 차샤네 그 디제주 참여관의 집에이나 아무 동백 개별 그도네 간주 다다한테 다다한테 류드 두야기 년龄이 그 링드 두준이 예브래 토마샤도 말해 자 다들 인도 나 셰바세트 세좀 릭성 같은 숙제면 되지 누가 다대 다디 그 교르고 요래 집에 다니리 그 교르다니 요래 근데 인도 년龄이 줘도 해지세진이 주스잖아요 다 년齡이 주 sometimes 그 리듬을 좋아라 또 sometimes 셰바로 토마샤나 녀려래 pero 숙제기 쉬어 토마샤고 주나 애는 그 주민이 좀 쉬어래 딱배줄 좀 쉬어래 애는 양은 군조 서비스 애는 요함에 뵙게 메다뵙게 애는 가서 누리 견신 견송던 셔고도
So now with respect to say the physical body, we know from from the Buddhist point of view, the body that we have, if you trace its origin, even though this body was born in this life, but the physical composition, the element that compose the body, you can trace it all the way back to the beginning. So from the Buddhist cosmology point of view, it's the period of empty stage where there are space particles. So there is no beginning, even to the physical continuum of the body. Then when it comes to consciousness, now, and
at the time, there's a whole universe, one particular universe, completely disappear. The space particle there. So today's our bodies, so subtle level continuation already there.
So similarly, with respect to consciousness, then yesterday we spoke about as part of the causation, you have causes and conditions. Conditions are commonly shared. Causes are unique to the effects. So the uniqueness of a cause suggests there needs to be some commensurate relationship between the cause and an effect. And between matter and consciousness, there is no commensurate relationship. So consciousness, the fundamental characteristic of consciousness is the subjective experience. It's the subjectivity. It's not a phenomenon that has spatial extension or obstructive quality. It is really a pure experience and subjectivity. And that, if you trace its causal chain, if you want to posit a beginning, then either you have to say it was created by a powerful mind, like a god, or you have to say it just came from nowhere. So, sort of origination from, nothingness. So both of these are problems. So then, therefore, you take the other alternative, which is to say, even with respect to consciousness, its continuity is, beginningless. So generally, it's a sort of a logical thinking process. So, for example, like whether the world has a beginning or not, it's finite. All of this is really a matter of critical reflection and thinking.
So I think Asian tradition, mainly Indian tradition, I think they really sort of utilize fully about human intelligence. Investigate, not believe. Here, one Indian, traditionally our guru, our teacher, all our knowledge we learned from India. Now today, the Guruji's knowledge become limited. The student of ancient Indian guru, including myself and many monks, over 10,000 monk students here in India, and also Tibet, I think several thousand study these things. Not just read one book, not that way. You see, over 20 years, rigorous study. So, now today, in a way, unfortunate, the your chela become
your student
more knowledgeable. Guru, not much knowledge.
So I think on that note, we will probably close. And I would like to invite our senior statement, Professor Lee, to make your final thoughts that you can share with us. And then after that, I'll invite His Holiness to offer some concluding remarks.
Well, the last 3 days, it's been a wonderful experience for all of us. As we know, scientists look at the evidence and try to do many things and see whether it's true or not. But as His Holiness said, sometimes time continues. So you want to repeat experiment, like repeat experiment that you are in existence. You have to trace back time to set the initial condition. It's not there. You won't be able to prove that you are here. And I did open my mind quite a bit coming here. Because when we talk about quantum effect, we take a matter. All the matter have wave natures, except when the particle becomes smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller, then the wave nature starts to show. So quantum mechanics is needed to describe the law of those motions. A heavier particle, wave nature is not important. So classical physics, classical mechanics is sufficient to do it. And of course, in the human body, it's a big classical things. But every molecule is a quantum mechanically manipulated, operated. So there's quite an interesting transition. And I still have lots of questions about the mind, because many of us are so-called absent-minded professor. The mind is separated somewhere.
Then kujude chilia, then absent-minded professors love to go temple art in Sigorva. Then kujuan kodan chilia, cerebral mangbuji, sheba killing Sigomara. The kodan yours.
So the first day when Your Holiness asked me, do we believe in the separation between brain and mind? I said, yes, I do. And sometime at home, I do the dishes. My wife cook, I do dishes. And I start to wash the dish and I forgot what I was doing. I was washing 10 minutes, 20 minutes, still washing. Then my wife come in and said, absent-minded professor. and so there's something in the mind. I do believe in what you said. Recently, they are twin, exact twin. They dress the similar way, and artificial intelligence could not distinguish two twins. But mother come in and can tell immediately who's Mary, who is Susan or something. But scientific equipment could not do it. Take the picture, all the same. And there's something about the human interaction that is beyond which appear on the surface. And I once was in China, going to Great Wall. Foreigner has to pay more. When I was walking with my friend, I didn't say a word. He looked at me and said, "You're a foreigner." I said, "Why?" He said, "Those who are born here will not hang such a silly smile." And so I think what he said was right, but somehow our silly smile shows that it's not related to the environment, that situation.
Then the then treasure matter when you wear ton and boy or that decay now.
So this time, we did learn a lot about Buddhist philosophy or Buddhist science, and your time, your space, time-space concept, and many other things.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So I really think this beginning, last several times, discussion, Buddhist science and modern science, mainly Westerner, and a few occasions Russians. Now the Chinese scientist, this is first time. So I'm hoping. So now this is just a beginning. We carry discussion among the Chinese brothers, sisters, among the Chinese scientists, I think, continuously. This reminds me, Karsa, they're not allowed to Chung Ming Karsa. Tsinghua Dashu. Tsinghua Dashu. One professor. We first met in America, the Washington Karsa Chokoti.
Brookings Institution.
Brookings Institution. Which is some professors from China also. So one professor from Tsinghua Dashu. And when I was in Peking, I also visited Tsinghua Dashu. So since then, you see, we become very close friends. So many occasions he come. So then one occasion, you see, we make some kind of hostel. Pledge. Proposal or pledge. Pledge. You see, in future, in his university, Tsinghua Dashu, you see, they're going to meet some kind of scientific meeting or something. So at that time, he going to send invitation to me, not Dalai Lama, not as a Dalai Lama, but scientist.
As a scientist.
So we already, you see, that kind of sort of thinking already there. So, but for the time being, you see, mainland China, no freedom, difficult. So only thing is professors or scientists from Taiwan. So eventually, I think there is possibility this kind of meeting in Taiwan, discuss. We'll say.
Yeah.
So in any way, I think now I think because of the right time, we must exploit the knowledge about mind, about emotion, which mentioned in Buddhist tradition. Really, I think worthwhile. Should not remain in the Buddhist text. And those Buddhist monks, they only carry prayer.
Chanting.
Kaza. Chanting. So now time come. Let them also more study. Then we can ask them.
Yes.
Otherwise, they simply carry chanting, no explanation. Okay.
Yeah.
So I think we here few individual person, but we belongs a nation. Over billion population, and Taiwanese also is part of Han, the Hanzo. So in many places, many parts of the world, also you say Han community there. So you are representing over billion sort of number of one human group, and traditionally Buddhist. So like Tibetan, see, you Indian are guru of both Hans and Tibetan. Truly. You see, we are student of the Nalanda tradition. As the first day I mentioned the very name of Lunsu Pusa, familiar. So there is real potential.
Yes.
Now here we are few people, but we are representing billions of people. Okay.
Yeah.
And that, not academic, but world passing through some kind of crisis of emotion. That emotion will not go away by prayer, but training our mind. In order to train our mind, we should have fuller knowledge about the whole system of our emotion and mind as an academic subject, not religious subject. Okay. Thank you.
So we will certainly welcome you in Taiwan, and we will initiate the continual discussion in Taiwan sometime.
Thank you. Now lunch, Marbe.
工作解答电脑。
等一下啊，你们等一下，我们那个。
大家哈达。手机请放包包，然后等一下全部交给你。
你们是不是从？
等一下，我就一起跟尊者一起照个相。
一起尊者啊，对，一起照相。
Amy and Susan.
Presenters can, if the presenters can come.
Presenters
come inside. Let the presenters come. Can you step back? Let the presenters come. Can we step back? Can you come this side?
Okay.